Hi, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone. Welcome to a Devops Intro Preparation webinar. I have been working with IT conducting for many years. I have experience for several years. I have been working on various different projects. I have seen multi organizations nation from a classic background to DevOps practice. And I already part of various transition programs and the transformation project progress and projects. This is a privilege for me to give this webinar. So we will start with the first one, which is the demand of DevOps. Why we need actually DevOps, and what exactly training and developers, what is driving face factor for DevOps. So let's see here. So two primary concepts, if you see the first one, the team collaboration, agility coding is developed. Agility code is developed 30 minutes more frequently. So all those three are basically talking about the agility or the speed of the deployment. So it's actually considered to the speed. So code is deployed 6 times more frequently nowadays than the era. So that's actually possible by DevOps. So if you have a DevOps practice in place, agility is possible. You can deploy code 30 times more frequently. And the next one is talking about reliability and the quality. And it talks about 50% fewer failure of new releases using adopting DevOps practice. And pretty simply, you can reduce the failure rate of the failure rate of new releases to 50%. So both agility and the quality can be maintained by using DevOps practices. Let's see the next page. So today we are going to discuss some of the basic interview questions again. All those questions are basically covering on a very high level, and to have a more depth of understanding of each topic, you have to involve to the DevOps. So you need to do some more research about the project, So I will actually do some videos about how exactly doing the project and when we're working in the company. So you can, if you want a deeper understanding, please follow my channel. So please do make sure click the like button under this video. Okay, subscribe my channel, and also I have a Snapchat. Okay, so you can add my Snapchat, and then if you have any question, also I have WhatsApp group. Okay, so if you have any question, you can add the WhatsApp group. So the link of the WhatsApp group is under the video. There's a description of this video. So you can actually find either the link, and then you can join the WhatsApp group. Okay. So we are going to see some generalized the question and the question based on topic. So those questions are actually divided into various topics. So generally, questions are actually applicate for anybody like project managers or QAs, or those questions will also for others like what is DevOps, what is the needs for DevOps, what is the driving factor for DevOps, and extra. And a simple internal concept like what are the source code management questions, continuously integration questions, in the configuration management and continuous monitoring, containerization, virtualization has been divided in several subgroups, and those most of the questions are relevant for anybody. It's not just the developer or the developer engineer. It can be also for the developer or project manager or a project lead, or somebody is actually the management course, somebody is just starting the carrying the level of those questions and answers are applicable for any of the person who is actually working is clearly into DevOps area. Okay, so let's do the general DevOps question. Okay, so the first question, what is DevOps? So what exactly DevOps? Okay, so if you ask anyone about the definition of DevOps, each person and would actually define in its own way. The reason is because there's no particular definition for the DevOps, right? So, but the actually understanding is, if you ask me, I would say that DevOps is actually a practice that actually bring developers and operations and HR and testing and operations or their activities together in a collaborative fashion using proper processes and technical to achieve the fastest and reliable software releases. That is what I actually defined it for, because the ultimate purpose of collaboration of the DevOps is for collaboration, and the DevOps is actually using the right tool and technical, but ultimate purpose of the DevOps is to actually give a faster releases with high quality. That's the main purpose, and that's the basically where the return on investment is there, right? So if you briefly principle and practice into various segments, so here is a small example. Source code management is one of the area. Continuous integration is another area. Continuous testing is another area. Configuration management, which also has a in structure as a code, is one area. Okay, so continuous monitoring is another area. All those areas together combined and can be called as a DevOps practice. So the next is how is the ops different from Agile? All right, so Agile is basically a methodology. All right, and the DevOps is basically a practice. The difference is that Agile has a methodology. For example, if you talk about Scrum framework, which is widely used as Agile methodology framework, the Scrum framework follows a particular processes and rules, right? And all the development has to adhere to fit into the framework. So the Scrum defines the development activities. So as a sprint repeatable, treatable sprint. So each sprint has a number of tasks that actually they define. So there are some framework defined in the Agile methodology, and then the development practice would actually will fit into that framework. So that simple and Agile, say for example, the framework or methodology only deal with development search. They will be installed in development, and it doesn't deal with how you have to release the code, how the operation and the production support work ongoing, and the support will continue. It doesn't talk about that, but whether okay. But it's in DevOps. DevOps talk about the whole end-to-end SDLC life cycle, starting to the development, testing, operations, and production support. So it actually costs quite a lot for wide topic, and it is not a framework where you actually, or it's not just a methodology, and it's actually more of a practice, and that each organization has its DevOps practice defined it and uniquely for each to meet the needs of the organization, right? So it's different. It's quite different from Agile methodology. It's not a methodology, it's just the practice. Okay, so next one. Okay, this is what we talked about. How is the DevOps different from Agile? Okay, so from here, let's see. Agile, we as DevOps. Okay, so for the DevOps, see, we start from here to here, the Agile from here to here. So let's see this circle. Okay, so this development end, this is release, this is production support, development start. Okay, so this part. And this part is development. Okay, this part and this part is operation. Between this one, there's a testing. Okay, so for Agile, it only work like a development. Okay, until the development end. But for DevOps, it start from beginning and after the development end, and then release, and then go for the production support. So the DevOps is, or the full like the life cycle SDLC. So development, testing, operations. Okay, so it's works all of them. Okay, let's see the next question. why the DevOps is very important, or you can say what's the needs for DevOps. Okay, so some of those example, actually, the first thing we have seen increased deployed frequency. So we have seen the first slice where it says like 50 times more frequency than the actually usually requirement. So if you see the traditional and the moment traditional software company, they were probably doing 2 releases or 3 releases or for you, or maybe 4 releases per year. Okay, no, actually the things are changing nowadays, that in order to substanding in the market, we need to do response to the change as soon as possible. So that means a new changes means new deployment, and a new release, the faster you actually make your online product or changes, ongoing changes in the market, the better you know return on investment. If the better, as of better, benefit for your product. So increase the department and only possible by using DevOps principle, not by any means, right? And the low rate of new releases, the number of releases that you are doing, actually can increase is a potential risk for server's failure or release failure. So it can be reduced lower dramatically by using the DevOps practice, right? So the next thing is shortening the lead time between fixing. Okay, so if you identify an issue and how much time will take you to fix it, and then how fast you can identify those nations, right? Okay, this is possible by the DevOps practice then faster. So means to recover in time of a few release failure. So that's possible by the DevOps, because you are using continuous monitoring. They are actually monitoring during the application after you release. It's complicated to proactively your actually check whether the application is providing, give a required result or not. And instead of waiting for you, at the end of a failure, which will probably cause a potential business or a reputation damage for your organization, you actually practically identify those small issues with gaps, and then you fix them as early as possible. And that is one of, more important factor of DevOps. So continuous monitoring actually deal with this particular topic. So where it shall increase faster and then reliable software, and then shortly time to fix the issues, and then recovering time is much more faster in the event of an accident or failure. Okay, let's go for next question. So the next question is name some of the DevOps tools and how those tools work together, right? So this can be, an important question. Like you can put this question in another way. Like some person can ask you the question like, you are a DevOps professional, and then the organization has given you the flexible of choosing the bucket and choosing various tools. So if you are the DevOps lead or the DevOps architect or engineer, what tools will you choose? So to answer the question is this one. First thing, we start with a source control tool, and there's a source control tool available. If it's one of the popular, because it's the way it works and the creation that it provides. So you choose it. It is a distribute version control management tool, and we actually see what detailed question about this gate, but Gate will use it for version control, and Maven used for building and compiling your code. And that's most code is actually built in Java. And so you actually can use Maven because Maven provide out of box feature for compiling Java code. And then store the artifact in a proper way. For example, Nexus is one of the artifact management repository solution, and this is very well integrated integrated with Maven. So once you compile, you can actually store the artifact in Nexus repository, for example. So all those things can have to be integrated with a continuous integration tool called Jenkins. Jenkins is widely used open tool, so it's actually best in the organization as far as I see. It has a lot of features and plugs available now. Jenkins can be integrated with the test tool. Setting is one of the example for the DevOps interface testing and functional testing, and various other texting involved. It can be decrypted with Jenkins as well. And the next things, you have actually, identified the tools for your source code management, your building purpose, and your testing, your continuous integration. The next thing is to deploy this application, a particular environment. So to have an environment ready, up and run, you need to have a provisional system, and also the project system should be capable of deploy the application as well as for, so you can use the Puppet, Chef, or Ansible. Tools can be used to provision the server and then deploy application and provide the same consistency and automatically. So you can use Docker for the microservice application. So Docker container provide constant computing and warming through the SDLC. The Docker basically, if you don't need a virtual machine and because you are running a small application like a macro services, and then you can actually use it with all quite your application. So Docker is also will be a best in your project. It's not an alternate approaches, but it's one of the approaches. Okay, so that's actually about the question. Okay, so next question. So next question, it will be it's about the source code management questions. Okay, so please do make sure subscribe to my channel. I will share more videos about all the interview questions, the high level, the general questions, behavior questions. Also, I will make some videos for how to become a DevOps engineer. So I will do some project. So please do make sure click the subscribe button. Okay, so the button is under this video, under my video. Okay, so here we are talking about it because Git is the most widely used modern software control management tools that function does not form in DevOps. So let's do this. This is the next question. Okay, so if you see the SDLC, this is a picture of SDLC. Here is code, shared repository. This one we use the gate, and then continuously integration and build, testing, configuration management, deployed, monitoring, plan. Okay, so we start from here. Okay, so this is the whole process of SDLC. Okay, so SDLC, we are talking about planning the project and then start coding it. And that coding, when you start coding it, so that code in a repository, and then you also should be able to share your code with other colleagues of your team. So for that for that purpose, you use code reuse gear to store the code and then share the code with the other app people in your organization who are working on the same project, and then we can further integrate that source code with continuous integration tools so that every time you do a change to your source code, it will trigger a build automatically, and then triggers a test automatically, and then apply some configuration changes and deploy it in a moment, and then can be monitored. So all those things can be further automated. So we can actually use continuously integration. Say every time a commit is made to get a repository, continuous integration can proof it and compile it, and also deploy it onto the tester server for testing purpose. Let's say the control gate actually perform next plan. Okay, let's do next question. Explain Gates distributed architecture? Okay, this is another question. Right now, how did you work? How Gate is work? So Gate is a distributed architecture, and like SVM. The difference between SVM and Gate is somebody ask, is this a distributed version control system? SVM is a client server based originally. Okay, so what is a distributed version control system? Means it's a repository which has all the resource code. It can have multi copies in multi areas. Okay, have you explained that? Now you see the remote repository or a central repository, for example, or it can call the original repository is actually the original one, the initial depository, and then each collaborator or the developer actually take a copy of the entire repository into a local data or laptop, and then starting working on this local repository, comment the changes, and then push the changes to the remote repository. Okay, so that other developers, other contributors can pull the changes and then start working on them. So if you see that repository is having multi copies, right, that's actually the distributed version control system. But when it comes to subversion to the centralized version control system, which means there is a central depository that is available in a centralized server, and then each collaborator for each developer actually copy only the contents required to the desktop to code the workspace. Okay, so it's not the entire repository. Okay, it's just the workspace. It's just a view that you can see only certain branch on that certain file you copy into your workspace and then commit the changes. So that's the key difference between S1M and Gate. Now let's go for the next question. So in Gate, how do you revert a commit that has already been pushed and made the public? Okay. So indeed, how do you revert a comment that has already been pushed and made public? So let's say you have actually using Gate, and then you can run Gate command, and then you comment the change and you push it to say how you want to relocate, and there's a Gate command available to revert the change. So for example, use Gate command minus n resource restriction. So the first command comments the change, and then use another command, call it a gate push the change from your local repository to the remote repository. And once it pushes the remote repository, if you want to reverse the change, you have used get a remote and then commit name. So each has a hash name to it. So it just provide the name and then it will work the command. Okay, like I said, the question and answers I actually leave to the end. So feel free to tap the question, and at the end, I'm going to answer all the questions, right? So that way we are not break the flow, right? The next question is, how do you find a list of a file that has changed in particular comment? Write it offer real comments, write the different tray. So let's say next one. So how do you find a list of files that has changed in a particular comment? Okay, so to get a list of files that has changed in a particular commit, use this command. Okay, it's get defer tray and r and hash. Okay, so given the commit hash, this will list all the files that were changed or added in that comment. And the R flag makes the comments list individual files. So rather than collaboration them into root the directory name only. Okay, so the output will also include some extra information which can easily subspread by the following two flags. Okay, so we can get default tray. And here, okay, get default tray, no commit ID name only, go R. Okay, so you can go for this one. So this one, here, commit ID. So this part, okay, get default tray, this part, okay. This part will surprise the commit hash, okay, the commit hash from appearing in the output. And this part, the name only part, will only printed the file names, okay, instead of their paths. Okay, let's go for next question. So how do you squash, okay? How do you squash last n comments into a single comment, okay? So this is very, very interesting and very unique feature offers in it. So in the traditional version control system, once it's committed, you cannot change the history, but Let's Gate allow you to play around with your original history or version graph. It caught it your need. Now, what is question scratching? Scratching means combining multi comes into a single one kind of a tree. For example, you have a comment for coverage 1, 2, 3, 4, and you realize that comments are supposed to be committed in single commit rather than in having multi comments because you want to share that comment ID or the files with somebody else. So that for that purpose we use force watching. This is called a scratch. We use gate reset command. The reset research the version history and what it does. See for example, you want to commit changes, combine all the last 4 comments. Then in that case, you need to use gate reset. Minus log head tied and stand for the number of comments from the head. Head is related to the top tally and means the last n number of comments, which means if you given 4, then it's going to be the last 4 comments. So once you give this comment and then run, then the get comment. So it's actually combine all the comments into one single comment. So you have to provide a new comment message so that the new comment that is commit will have all those 4 comments. So the file are changed. So you are basically playing it on, so similarly, you can actually do another, you feel, for example, you want to edit it, the changes. So you be edit the changes. So you can use, minus m and then provide, minus m and provide some comments, okay? Provide some comments, okay? For example, gate clock minus 4 my people is the reverse, and so basically they are actually taking the same commenting message of all these previous comments and then added to this comments, and so you don't want to even lose the comments messages that were committed in the past. So another interesting advanced topic actually, it will be the continuous integration question. But today I will stop here. I will make more video for in another video. I will continually. We will start the questions related about the continuous integration question. Okay. Okay. Thank you for watching and happy learning.